is going to be controversial.
That's a crunching right hand, and that must finish it. It must finish it.
Taylor trying to catch himself, using his jab, eats a right hand, another right hand, and he goes down. Oh my goodness!
The dream is made real. Ricky Hatton rocks the world with a truly stunning win over.
Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back to another edition of Raps on TV. What a weekend of world-level boxing as our very own Anthony Joshua won the WBA heavyweight title to add the IBF and WBA to become the unified heavyweight champion of the world. And obviously he's now clearly the biggest star in world boxing. In today's show, we're going to review the fight. We're also going to discuss whether the spectacle was what was expected. Was Parker's negativity, did it have an impact on the fight? We're going to analyse the heavyweight landscape, review the potential for an AJ Wilder unification, and the referee and how he impacted on the fight. Call in the studio on 01506 243 403 if you're in the UK. If you want to dial in from the US, do +1 818 794 7004. I'm joined by Tom of Raps on TV. Unfortunately, Kojo couldn't make it tonight. He's off sunning himself in sunny Dubai, but he's calling into the studio. So, Tom, over to you, mate.
Yeah, how you doing, Anam? It's good to be back. Another week down. Also going to touch on wins for Ryan Burnett and Josh Kelly on the undercard. Going to talk about a potential World Boxing Super Series bantamweight tournament. See if Burnett gets put into that mix. Obviously mentioned of Zolani Tete, a potential fight hopefully down the line for boxing fans to get that one concluded. And just talk about Kelly stepping up in his sixth fight against a former world champion in Carlos Molina. Good performance. Definitely demonstrated, his flashy style and good boxing skills to get through that test. We're also going to touch on a fight that's gone a bit under the radar in the last few weeks in Caleb Truax defending his IBF super middleweight title against James DeGale. And just the main focus really is just reviewing that massive fight from the weekend. Possibly didn't live up to expectation, but we'll talk through that. So yeah, back to you, Anam.
So Tom, how did you assess the fight? What did you make of the fight overall?
Bit of a stinker, really, in my opinion. To be fair, I think it was a case of Parker being quite reluctant to engage. He was slightly negative at the start in the opening exchanges, and Joshua obviously managed to gauge the distance between him and Parker. Was able to sort of see the rounds out and coast through the fight down the stretch. So it was a pretty comfortable win for him.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree with that as well. It was a comfortable win, but given the expectations behind the fight, given the build up of the fight, the number of fans there, the music, the royal guards, everything, the eyes of the boxing world, something like 120, 130 countries that bought this event. People like Deontay Wilder and his team, everyone's going to be looking at this. Literally, it's something like 1 billion people were expected to watch this fight. Based on that, I thought it was a bit of a letdown. It was a massive letdown. I thought both fighters fought very, very negatively, and they could have done a lot better, in my opinion.
Why do you think Parker was so reluctant to engage on the inside? I think it was fair to say that going into the fight, the real success that Parker would have had, against someone with the stature of AJ was to get in the inside and land a flurry of combinations, because we've seen in previous fights he's got quick hands, he's able to get in and out. So why do you think he was unable to do that on the night?
Well, I think there was a couple of factors. One of them was discussed at the post-fight conference by his team. He had a big disadvantage in terms of reach. There's something like 6 to 8 inch reach advantage by Joshua. So what does that mean? It means he has to come on the inside and fight, right? He's obviously going to be very, very aware of AJ's knockout power, his ability just to, push people behind, and it's risky. So he has to be very, very cautious. You'd expect that to start. But every time he tried to engage or come in close, so he managed to even get on the inside, the referee would just come in and
break
stop it. That's a massive bit of criticism and something we're going to pick up later on. I mean, what do you think? I mean, did you think the fight met the expectations?
Well, I think with the interference of the ref in large parts of the fight, I think it kind of stopped the fluidity of the fight and breaking up, what could have been an all-out war on the inside if the ref had managed to let it go. Let them fight. It'd have been probably a different contest, but I don't think you can solely blame the ref. I think if Parker had come forward a little bit more, throw a few feints and try getting the inside and land those combinations, then I think it would have probably backed off AJ a little bit more. But I think at the start, AJ knew he had the distance and he had the physical advantages over Parker.
All right, so let's bring in Team Wilder's spokesman, Mr. Kojo Kwarteng, into the conversation. Kojo, hello.
Hello?
Yeah, you there?
I'm good. Team Wilder spokesman.
Yeah.
I like that. No.
How did you?
I mean, look.
How did you assess the fight, man?
I mean, obviously, one thing we forgot to mention, we were obviously in the building, so we were able to absorb the energy, kind of get a feeling for what fans felt, kind of leaving the stadium as well. Whilst there, obviously slightly different. I wasn't massively impressed in the sense of I predicted Joshua to stop him. I thought he was going to come out and show something to kind of maybe reinforce the fact that he could, wipe out Wilder. I was hoping to see a bit more speed, looking to see a lot of combination punches. I think it was definitely a tactical fight in terms of fighting behind the jab. Parker, was he better than what I expected? Slightly, because he went 12 rounds, but I agree with Tom. I don't think he really pushed himself enough either. You knew you had a disadvantage going into this fight in terms of the reach. So I don't feel, he stepped on the gas enough, and I haven't seen him do that in the past. I don't know what you guys think about the referee, but yeah, do you think fans have a right to be sort of like critical of that? Or, do you think there was an advantage for either fighter?
Yeah, 100%. If you look at, let's go through it. While it was being, we were at the stadium. I came back and I watched the replay on TV again. There was criticism from Adam Smith of Sky while the fight was going on. I watched HBO when they put the fight on. Showtime. They were saying the same kind of thing. We saw what Dillian White had to say after the fight, and the majority of fan outlets and social media, when they were discussing it, clearly there is a feeling that the referee was interfering way too much. There was a massive impact on this, right? From Team Parker's perspective, the guy couldn't speak Italian at all, so that was English at all. That was a bad choice because he could not communicate with anyone. Yeah, Kevin Barry asked him at the start, how are you going to be managing this fight? The guy was just speaking Italian; he just couldn't understand anything, right? But he was given reassurance by the BBOC, British Boxing Board of Control, that it's a quality ref and he's going to do his job well. So how does this impact the fight? When, as I was saying before, Parker's got a reach disadvantage, 6 to 8 inches, right? So he has to come inside to fight. If he isn't being allowed to fight on the inside, how on earth is he going to be expected to see through his game plan? So yeah, he had a big impact in my opinion, and that was stated by Kevin Barry in the post-fight conference as well.
And Coach, just touching on the actual action and the tactics brought by Team Parker, do you think there was any significant tactics from Parker? Do you think it was he was a bit, obviously mentioned that he was quite negative in the early exchanges, but do you think, like, picturing down the stretch, if the fight was to go the distance, do you think there was any real tactics implemented by Team Parker?
I mean, I would say, yes, there were tactics, but I don't think they're the type of tactics you use to win fights, in my opinion, at this level against an opponent like Joshua. For example, he was regularly feinting the jab. So, when that fight finished, I said, I really want to see the punch stats for this to see what else I learned from it. And for me, you see that Parker threw a lot of jabs, but landed very few. So his game plan was clearly to prevent Joshua to kind of jump on top of him just by keeping out that jab and feinting it. Sometimes it was touching the glove, sometimes it was just touching nothing. So, is that a tactic? Yes, but is that a win? Should you win fights that way? I would say no. For me, I don't think Parker does enough. That's why I don't think he was that disgruntled. I think it was interesting, when you say tactics, they took away the big punch from Joshua because he kept quite mobile. So I would say that worked in their favour. So would they be disheartened? I think not massively. But I mean, I don't think they can be too disgruntled with the result. I think their tactics came off. They fought a guy that knew how to nullify it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think one thing I learned from this is Joshua, when you got a mobile target, he finds it quite difficult to connect with them. And that's going to be a very, very interesting factor when he fights Wilder. So I'm just thinking, guys, I'm thinking of putting a few guys through, covering off this topic with some of the listeners, and then we'll get back to Joshua and Wilder. So we've got 516. Hello? 516.
Guys, how are you?
Hi, is that
Palm
Palm?
from Pro Box Spain, TKO. What's happening?
Palm, how you doing, man? You're right. How's life, mate?
But
I like Palm.
Good. How you doing, guys? You all right?
I'm good, Palm. How's life treating you these days?
Life's good, mate. Life's good. Just been focusing on the media as myself. And as you can see, mate, I've just been focusing on my health a little bit. So dropped a few pounds, shall we say.
Yeah.
And, and just, keep up the good work. Yeah. And just happy to be on air, guys, just to share my views as well.
Good to have you on, mate.
I see you become very active on social media, letting us know when you're having coffee and so. Thank you very much for that.
Welcome anytime, mate.
Yeah, no problem. Next time you have one, let us know. So listen, mate, how did you assess the fight, Palm? Number one, did the fight meet the expectations and the build-up at the atmosphere and the sheer size of the event? And why was Parker so reluctant to engage? Those three questions, mate.
Mate, I missed the second one. What was the second question?
Did the fight, the overall performance of the fight, did it meet the expectations and significance of the event itself?
You know what, mate? I'm going to start with that question because I think you sort of hit the nail on the head yourself as well. I mean, nobody knows what it's like to go out in front of 80, 90,000 people and perform. Joshua done it 90,000 at Wembley in front of Klitschko, a seesaw of a fight, but ultimately came out on top. The Parker fight, I think everybody thought, listen, me included, I thought Josh would ultimately stop him, and I went for round 6 to 8, and it just shows you how many of us got it wrong. You know what? In watching the fight, I was unfortunately I didn't catch a lot of the undercard, but watching the main event, my straight away, my opinion was Josh could have done a bit more. Parker could have stepped in more. Obviously, the ref could have laid off a bit more. But but after that, talking to some of the same with you guys, some of the industry colleagues, it's hard to be critical. In fact, I spoke to a referee today, and it's a bit like that old cliche: unless you've been in the ring yourself, shut the hell up. And he said that. He said, look, okay, I know a lot of people said the ref had a stinker, but unless you've been in there and you've judged or you've refereed a fight in front of 80, 90,000 people, you shouldn't be talking.
Sorry, I don't subscribe to that view. If you're going to subscribe to that view, then don't take money off the fans. You see what I'm trying to say? People are paying to be there, man. Do you know what I mean? And the referee's getting paid, so I don't subscribe to that at all. If you want to have that view and the fighter wants to have that view, sorry, mate, then don't expect people to pay to watch you. You're selling your product. At the end of the day.
Yeah, and in fact, I don't know if you guys saw it, but Dana White, obviously from the UFC, he put an Instagram post of a picture of this guy and said, "Who let this bum referee the fight?" So I don't know. I mean, but certainly it did seem that every time Parker came in on the inside and was doing some good work. I actually thought on a couple of occasions he shook Josh. But Joshua at the end of the fight was very, very honest in terms of saying, and maybe that's the respect he had for Parker, saying that the plan was always to fight behind the jab. And I think, honestly, when he fights, and it will happen, I honestly don't see him and Wilder fighting this year. That's my personal opinion. I think when they do fight, mate, he'll be fighting the same tactics because Wilder is wild and he's got a heavy right hand. So I think that's what he'd be doing. You may see another, I don't know how you guys saw the fight. I thought, again, Josh could have done more. I thought certainly Parker could have stepped in more. But that is one thing I did find a bit strange because this is top level. Yeah, you've got on the occasion, you've got 80,000 people there, But he's also Joe Parker's an experienced champion. You've got Kevin Barry in the corner. And I just thought, even in the middle rounds, maybe Kevin would say to him, listen, we need to, route A is not working. Let's go with route B. And it didn't seem to happen, did it, guys?
No, it didn't. It didn't at all. Palm, listen, we're going to be talking about Joshua and Wilder and a few other topics, so do stay on the line. We're going to be putting you through back on later on again, so do make sure. Thanks for calling in, mate. Yeah, and just do stay on the line.
Cheers.
Well done,
Thanks
mate.
for calling in, Palm.
Cheers, mate. Thank
No
you.
problem, guys.
Cheers, mate.
All the best.
All the best, mate.
Keep it up.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Thanks. And it's, one thing I do want to say on that, I think with the ref, I think, look, the key thing, I think Palm's right, it is hard to be overcritical. I just think, it would be good to get a bit more detail in terms of his last few fights. Just because we're not referees, we don't understand the rules, you still have leagues and elite referees, just like in football. You have certain referees that manage and ref the big fights. And I think for this type of fight, I don't see why someone like Terry O'Connor, even for maybe his flaws arguably, should be reffing the Josh Kelly fight, and you've got this unknown Italian coming in reffing the biggest unification fight.
He doesn't speak English. He's
I don't
mad.
know,
We've got both fighters speaking
someone
English.
from the States. So what I will say though, and Palm touched on something, and I wanted to say that for me, again, we didn't see enough combinations being thrown from Joshua, so it was like it wasn't a great performance, but he fought by the jab, which it's not going to be entertaining for the fans. What I did see though, and I'm still not, I think we saw a slight flaw that when he does get hit, he can be startled. If you guys go back to the 5th round, Parker lands an uppercut, and you see Joshua's legs position, how feet his wide get, freezes up a bit, and Parker just didn't jump on him. So I would ask people to go back, watch that 5th round, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But yeah, over to you, man. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to let through 985. 985, hello.
Hello there, can you hear me, guys?
Hello, Dan. How you doing, mate? You all right?
How you doing? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Dan, I'm just going to let Kojo through just to basically ask you a couple of questions, and Thomas will take the next one. Kojo, over to you, mate.
So yes, D, man, what do you think of the fight?
You know what, I didn't see all of the fight, but to be honest with you, what I did see, I thought Parker done all right, to be fair. If I'm being honest with you, I think Parker done all right. Joshua isn't the finished article, and I think he's going to have a few problems, mate. So I think he needs to sharpen up a little bit, to be fair.
Daniel, they spoke about fighting behind the jab and trying to box. A little bit, there's rumours that he's been speaking to Klitschko. We know he was with the Mayweather camp. So these are two guys, defensive, intelligent fighters. Do you think that, one, Wilder would be afraid of anything that he saw? And two, do you think Fury would be afraid of anything that he saw that night?
I think, to be honest with you, no. I think he'll beat Wilder. But I think Fury will beat him. Fury will beat him. He'll outbox him. He'll outbox him all night. He'll take the piss out of him. He will. Straight.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
Even listen, let me tell you something, right? Even if he fights Parker again, he'll fucking lose. Trust me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think with Fury as
That's
well.
Right? That's how I feel. But against Fury, all day he'll lose. Wilder, just wild, innit? He'll just stick to the game plan he tried to do on Saturday. But but to be honest with you, Parker, I think if Parker fight him again, he'd lose, mate. So that's my opinion. I'm not too impressed with Joshua, to be honest with you. That's just me. I think he's there for the taking, to be honest.
No problem.
Yeah.
Dan, listen, mate, stay on the line. We're going to be talking about Joshua and Wilder, the significance of that fight a bit later on. So do stay on the line. We're going to put you back through again. Thank you very much for calling. Cheers, mate.
We got 918 on the line. 918.
Hello, hi, you okay?
How you doing? You right?
Hi, mate. Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
How you doing, Frank?
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, thank you very much for calling in, mate. Over to you, Thomas.
How you doing, Frank? It's Tom here. Just give us your overall assessment of the fight. Do you think it lived up to the expectations, or were you disappointed in both?
Do you know, before the fight, everyone was saying about AJ, how he gets gassed out. But AJ proved everyone wrong. He went 12 rounds. He jabbed. He controlled the fight. You know, I think it was a brilliant performance from him. You know, not just he's a knockout artist. He can fight as well. He can box, and that's what he proved to everyone. I think all these people are saying him, but it's like Floyd. Why should he get hit in that? He controlled the fight.
I do think, Frank, I wouldn't agree with that. I wouldn't agree with that. If he was on the back foot, not getting a hit,
right,
then I'll say he's like Floyd. But he was on the front foot for most of the fight. He was doing the attacking, right? And he was missing a lot. So what my assessment of that is...
But you got to understand, Parker's no fool, mate. Parker's...
Yeah, I understand that. I know, but what I'm trying to say is a very different thing from Floyd Mayweather, isn't it? What we're seeing here is AJ... Right, Floyd Mayweather is someone who's defensively brilliant, right? You can't touch him because the guy's moving. He's completely opposite, right? Joshua isn't on the back foot, being defensive, evading punches, slipping punches. He's on the front foot. He's going for a man, right? And what we've seen is, and this is the fact of the matter. When there was a mobile target, he couldn't connect well. If you've got a stationary target, it's very easy for AJ to take these people out, So I would disagree with that, mate. I don't think it was a fantastic performance, to be honest. I think he could have done a lot more. He could have been a lot more aggressive. He wanted to.
He done what he needed to. He's not stupid now. He's not going to go all out, get caught, and get knocked out. He's been vigilant. He's got the most of the belts and the Wilder fight. And I really do think he'll beat Wilder because Wilder makes mistakes, and AJ don't make mistakes. He'll take him out.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
I have to agree as well, and I think as well with Wilder. Being so reckless at times, if he steps in, and his feet are not always, positioned. There's not really much balance to his come forward style. And I think if he walks onto something big from AJ, or anyone that sort of hits and then moves off you, I think he'll be in a world of trouble. But Frank, I just wanted to ask, you're obviously going under the sort of opinion that we saw a different side to AJ, and that he was able to be composed in there and coast through the rounds against Parker. But do you think it's a case of now when he steps up against someone like Wilder, he's going to need to polish off those rust and those flaws in his style?
Definitely, like before, like when we fought his last fight, he was getting gassed out. And now I think what he's learned to do is adapt to the fighters, and I think he'll beat Wilder. And I don't think Fury is going to come back, and Fury will get knocked out from him anyway. But brilliant. I personally think it's brilliant from performing from AJ. I think he done the right thing. Obviously the fans are not happy because they didn't see the knockouts, but he didn't want to get hit, and because he knew to get hit, he might get knocked out. So he's going to play it cool. And overall, I think it's a good performance from him.
Okay. Frank,
that's my opinion.
Frank, stay on the line. Stay on the line. We're going to be talking about Joshua and Wilder in a few minutes. We've got a few other guys on the line, so let's get them through, and then we're going to the next topic. So we got 269. 269.
Hi guys.
Hi, Jason. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you, Nam?
I'm good, man.
Hey there, Jason.
What did you think of the fight and the overall performance? What did you think of the fight?
Yes, big man, Jace.
Yes. I watched the fight. In all honesty, I actually called for AJ winning for 12 rounds on points. And that was really due to the fact that I just didn't think that he would knock him out. But, as we can see, he didn't knock him out. I guess it was his game plan, but to be honest, I wasn't too impressed with Joshua. I was more impressed with Parker, although he didn't win. And I could state that Joshua did win the fight, but I just wasn't too impressed with him.
So why do you think it's going to go 12 rounds, Jace?
I just don't feel that... I think as Joshua's stepping up in levels, I think we're actually seeing that he isn't really that great. I'm going to be terrorized for saying this, but that's what I truly believe. I've been listening to all the press. Most of the press was in regards to Joshua versus Wilder. And after that win, I do not think he would beat Wilder. Definitely don't think so.
Yeah.
I thought his head movement wasn't really that great in regards to Parker. I felt he was scared to actually get punched by Parker. Another thing I saw, I mean, the referee was bad. However, I think that was in AJ's advantage, really and truly, because I saw when they were close, I saw Parker letting off a few combos like on the inside, basically, and Joshua tried to throw a couple of combos, but it wasn't really connected when they were inside. So yeah, that's what I.
What do you think about
believe.
What do you think about the referee, Jason?
Yeah, so I mean, the referee was splitting it up a lot, but I do, like I said, I do believe that that actually helped Joshua, because when they were close together, I saw Joshua throw a few punches, but they weren't connecting. It was actually Parker's punches that was connecting.
Yeah,
I saw like 2 real good combos, and it was like 3 or 4 hooks to the body that Parker did let off, basically. I mean, I never thought Parker would have won that fight. How he fought, I think he fought good anyway. But, I mean, I feel like a true heavyweight champion like Joshua is. I thought he would have spoke to him, really, but,
yeah,
you know, he didn't.
I think that's what the vast majority of fans were thinking, mate. You know what I mean? It's going to be nine rounds to not between 9 to 12. He's going to knock him out.
Yeah, no, I did call for 12 rounds. So, like, yeah, just in regards to him fighting Wilder, though, I think we need to give Wilder more credit than we give him. You know, we say he's wild and that. But I feel like Wilder starts throwing these wild shots, and I feel he does that when he smells blood, when he knows the person is basically... there's like a problem, like they're dazzled or something. He'll see that and he'll basically go after them. And I don't feel that Joshua could actually take one of Wilder's shots, really and truly.
Yeah, I think we've seen that. You know, I think we, you know, when we cover the Joshua Wilder thing, it's one of the points we're going to be picking up on. You know, when we sort of compare strengths and weaknesses, I think, you know, we can say Joshua has been buzzed in the past. You know, and it's gonna key risk to him.
And Jason, it's Tommy. Just one more question before we move on to AJ Wilder.
Yeah, Tom.
With Parker, do you think he relied too much on his work rate at the start to try and impress the judges instead of landing significant shots?
Yeah. I believe he did. I mean, my problem with really and truly is that I didn't actually look at this fight thinking, is Parker going to do something? I was just more thinking, what is Joshua, what kind of message is Joshua going to send?
Yeah, because there didn't really seem to be any real game plan down the stretch. In terms of the first few rounds, it was pretty boring to the eye. You know, not much was really going on, and many punches being landed, but didn't really seem... that Parker had any real initiative down the stretch to, you know, get on the inside and impose himself as a threat to AJ.
Yeah, that's true. I don't really think there was a couple of times when I thought that he was a threat, like when a couple of punches connected Joshua. But then I'm just thinking, like, he wasn't no threat. So then I don't know why is Joshua. I really thought Joshua was scared to get hit by him.
Yeah,
you know.
I think, you know, it was too much safety first from Joshua. You know, they put an Instagram post up later on saying as well, you know, welcome to the science of hit and not be hit. Like, you know what, man? Like Joshua, that's not what his fan base expecting. That's not what he's built his fan base on. I don't.
We don't want that.
Yeah. I think,
Let me ask you guys a question. So, am I being too hard on Joshua, or do you think that was his game plan, basically, and he just stuck to his game plan? What do you guys think
go on,
for
Coach.
that?
Go on, you go for it, Coach.
I mean, I say I wouldn't say harsh. I think, as you said, the lenses you had for this fight was you were looking for a statement to be made by Joshua, which I was also looking for. I think the statement was that he can half fight behind the jab. I don't think you could say he was massively convincing because there were no real 1-2s in the fight. So it's not like he was double jab, 1-2, you know, mixing it up. So I think I don't think you're wrong to be critical. I think, it was not a performance that is going to scare Fury or scare Wilder, or maybe even Parker, who, let's be honest, are probably the elite heavyweights that are out there at the moment. So I don't think you're being critical. I think we have to praise him because, he improves in the sense of he did make improvements. So one thing I noticed which was good, which is clearly for the Wilder fight, is that he kept his right hand very secure to his jaw. I saw that. Yeah. So we see that he's improved with his boxing. I don't think his foot movement is still great, but I think it was better. Where it needed to be much better, it was cut off the ring. So we're seeing that he can move a bit lighter on his foot. He's less robotic, but he's not cutting off the ring. For somebody, you'll find Parker, you have to cut off the ring. You've got that. Yeah. You've got that advantage, so you can keep your jab out there, which you were doing. But you should have used that to also cut off the ring, in my opinion. So,
cool. Guys, let's keep the callers rolling because we've got quite a few put up. So, Jason, thank you very much, man. Stay on the line because we're going to be talking about Joshua Wilder as well. Thank you very much, mate.
Will do. All right,
cheers, man. So we got 251. Hello.
Yeah, how you doing, guys?
Yeah, you doing, man? What are you saying? How you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, big man. Yeah, not too bad, man. Hanging in there, man.
Yeah. So, D, what do you think about the overall performance of the fight? And I think we're going to have to go into Joshua Wilder section as well because we're going to start running into our time. What did you think of the overall performance? And how would you say this performance? What kind of significance would it have when he's fighting Wilder?
I guess he got the job done, so the win's a win. But AJ didn't get to the point of having these packed out venues and the talk of the town by having comfortable, careful wins. It was kind of like a Klitschko type performance, and I think the AJ fans specifically want to see what's got him to this point, and that's the KOs in fashion, in good fashion. So I congratulate him for getting the win, but I would hope that that's not the style going forward.
And D, it's Tom here. I just want to ask, do you think, like you just touched on there, obviously AJ's expected to, knock these guys out before 6 rounds, early doors. But do you think we saw a different side to AJ being able to be composed down the stretch and go the distance?
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to some of the things, what I could hear from the corner. And I guess he followed what his coach wanted him to do. They seemed happy with what he was doing, and he was instructed to continue on. So I guess in that regard, it's good that he has the discipline to do that if necessary. I just would like that to not be what he does all the time. And I think Inam said it as well. It wasn't really, if I'm being brutally honest, it wasn't necessarily what I would define as the sweet science, Exactly. I think Mayweather portrayed that really well. I don't think that we necessarily saw a beautiful boxing performance. We just saw a safe win.
Yeah, definitely have to agree.
And D, on that, and I think D, you hit the nail on the head with that. And I was going to go back to a point where you mentioned the Klitschko type style. Do you think we will begin to see more of that from him, knowing that he seems to have taken some advice from Banks? And do you think Joshua can execute that? Because I don't know if you saw any of the other fights, but somebody who executed a great time for me that night was Cordina. The way he fought, that was the sweet science, hit and don't get hit, but still come forward doing combination punches. Do you think Joshua can execute it so effectively?
I don't think he can because he's not loose enough. Maybe in time, maybe it's a bit harsh. Maybe in time he can, but I guess we've got to bear in mind that Klitschko was initially taught that method by the late great Emmanuel Stewart, So for him to be able to do that without getting that level of teaching was pretty a tough task.
Yeah.
So no, I don't necessarily think he can perfect it as Klitschko does or did.
So, D, who should he fight next? Are we saying now, from a hardcore fan's perspective, do we now want to see the Wilder fight, or what do you think is likely to happen?
I think all boxing fans would like to see the Wilder fight, but what's likely to happen? I don't think it will be the Wilder fight. I think it's going to end up being Baby Miller in New York. maybe to help with the HBO Matchroom USA venture. And it goes with the narrative that we've been hearing from Matchroom, where they want to build the fight, etc., etc. So I don't think we'll see the Wilder fight. I hope we will, put it that way.
Do you think that comes down to politics, D? Do you think the sort of, the differences between the broadcasters and, getting the fair, pot of the fair split between the two? Do you think that's going to play a part in delaying the fight?
Well, just to...
I think... Say that again, sorry?
Yeah, just to quickly cut in there. I mean, we've seen an article from Gareth Davis, haven't we? That's been going around for the last couple of days, where, she's interviewed Shelley Finkel, who is, is one of the key players in the Wilder side, and they've agreed. They said, look, we've agreed a 60-40 split. So that's pretty. I think if we can take that as being correct, then Shelley Finkel is saying they've accepted a 60-40 split. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? And when they're talking about a fight in the summer now. Looking at Gareth Davis on the Telegraph.
I think all those posts that I've seen online and what you just touched on there, I think it's clickbait. I mean, Wilder and his team have been saying that since last year November, that they're happy to take whatever split, they're happy to come to the UK. I think it's just a headline for people to click on. I don't really think it's anything new. It's what we've already heard from like Shelley Winkle said it post-fight Luis Ortiz. Wilder's consistently said he'd even take 10% as long as they're willing to take the reverse. I just think it's just all just headlines. And what I would like to see is a picture of those guys in the offices. If I saw something like that online with Wilder's guys and Eddie in the office talking, then I'll be like, okay. But if it's just those lot saying, yeah, we're willing to accept this, or AJ say we're willing to accept that, I think it's just clickbait, to be honest with you.
What's your view on it?
And I have to agree with that, because I read also the article, and although yes, it is a new article that's out there, I think if you read it, for me, it's more as if Shelley Finkel is saying that's what we're prepared to agree to. I don't think it sounds like Matchroom have actually offered that to them as of late.
Yeah.
I think what he's trying to say is he wants to have that conversation. So, yeah, I mean, for me, the interesting thing, quickly going back and on this Wilder Joshua fight, will be Matchroom's seeming early relationship with HBO. Could that potentially add more politics and put a spanner in the works in terms of the timeline? That's one thing I think we have to keep an eye on, because Joshua is now soon out of contract. I think that's the bottom line.
Showtime. Yeah. I think we won't. I don't think we'll have an obstacle. I think any obstacles that are put out there are just excuses, to be honest, because we've seen it in the past where when there's fights of a certain magnitude, HBO and Showtime can work together. So I think it's really more about, in this regard, Matchroom, AJ, they're the A side. So if they want the fight will happen. That's how I think it is.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any clashes between presenters, because he's also, I think, signed up with Showtime. Wilder fights on Showtime. So that shouldn't be an issue at all.
Yeah, because Wilder's on Showtime and it looks like Matchroom's moving to HBO.
No, but Joshua's fights on Showtime.
If it ends up being the same, it still shouldn't get in the way of making the fight happen. And I think if I document it, have it recorded, if that ends up being an excuse, then it's just an excuse. I don't think there should be any obstacle to making that fight happen. If Matchroom won it, and Rob McCracken, we got to always bear in mind Rob McCracken as well. If Rob McCracken thinks AJ's ready, if AJ thinks he's ready, and if Eddie thinks, if they all collectively think, yeah, we can win this, the fight will happen.
Sure.
If they don't, for whatever reason, then it won't.
Okay, Dee, thank you very much for that. Tom, do you want to just add anything to those points to the guys that made before we go on to the next caller?
Yeah, there's one question I just wanted to ask. Obviously, you touched on there about a potential fight with Miller, and AJ's alluded to after the fight with Parker that he doesn't really need to go over to the States, only to build his fan base over there. But do you think that an AJ fight with Wilder should take place in the UK first? Obviously, if there is a rematch clause there to have a fight in Vegas, AJ's probably content with staying in the UK.
I think. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, go, D. You go through, D.
Yeah, I think if the fight gets signed, it definitely will be in the UK first, rematch in Vegas or rematch in the Barclays Centre. That's what I think would happen. It's a fight where you must have a rematch.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and I agree. I think there'll definitely be a rematch, and it deserves to be in the UK. And the rematch, whatever happens, is in Vegas.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, D, thank you very much, man. Stay on the line. We're going to put through a couple more callers. Thank you very much for calling in, mate.
Cheers,
Thank you
mate.
for the support.
Just
Cheers,
appreciate that.
No problem, guys. Take care, man.
Okay.
So we've got 081081. Hello.
What's going on, lads? Nicholas here.
Nicholas, how you
Nicholas?
doing, man? You all right?
I'm all right, brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How was your weekend away in boxing?
Weekend. Yeah. Weekend was all right. You know, it's always nice to go Cardiff.
Yeah.
So nice weekend there. You know, with the event, everything going on.
Describe the experience. Describe the being in the arena, being part of 80,000 fans, the music, the fire, the lights. Describe.
Yeah. You know what?
Man.
I have to say on that note, I have to give it up to Eddie Hearn because you know what? He really does know what to do to just kind of like prepare an event with all the fire going on and all the live bands playing and everything else. You know, the way AJ came and then they lifted him up on that machine and everything. You know, he does do that very, very well. He really puts a lot. There's a lot of thinking to it. And yeah, Cardiff is always nice. It's always nice. It's like the whole place is just buzzing from. I went into town earlier for lunch, and you could see he was already buzzing, man. Everybody was just like packed everywhere. Everybody was eating, talking about the fight. Everybody was already discussing what you think is going to happen. So, yeah, Cardiff is always a nice place to go to.
Yeah.
And Nicholas is
nice,
Tom.
Nice
here.
event. Hey, how you doing, Tom? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. I was just going to touch on the potential Wilder unification fight next. Obviously, he's got the WBC belt. Joshua's picked up the rack of heavyweight belts. Do you see that fight happening next?
You know what? I would love to see that fight happening next. I don't think it's going to happen. I think basically, personally, I've been feeling that AJ has been slowly kind of training himself for the Wilder fight, hence him getting a little bit leaner and trying to box a little bit different, a bit more defensive because he knows that Wilder packs a big punch. But then again, he kind of tested himself out against Parker. I think the way he fought, there was a game plan to it, but the way it happened, and I don't know what everybody felt. I feel the fight was much closer than what everybody thinks. I think AJ won. I don't believe this 119, 109 nonsense, 118, 110. I think the judges are. Yeah. I don't know what fight they were watching, but it was not that close. I haven't seen it on TV again.
They were taking crack.
Yeah, I've not seen it on TV again, but I know for sure from what I saw there, it was not a 118, 110 fight. That was just purely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So based on that, I don't think, even if the public pushes it, I don't think AJ's team is going to take the Wilder fight next because I feel that personally he doesn't feel confident himself yet to take on Wilder.
Do you think Wilder would take? God, no.
I think Wilder would take the fight tomorrow. I think he's made it very, very clear. He's already talked about the split. It doesn't have to be a 50-50. He would take a probably 60-40, 70-30. He's made it clear about that. He's made it clear that he will come to the UK for the fight. He was willing to go to Russia, so I don't think that's even the problem. I think really all the hurdles are coming from AJ's team.
Yeah, let's bring Kodjo into this conversation. Kodjo, when do you think if this fight doesn't happen this summer, when do you think the fight is likely to happen, number one? And why is the Wilder AJ fight so significant in relation to boxing history?
Okay, so do I think it will happen this summer? I would go with no. I'll be massively impressed if they sign up for that deal this summer, and I'll take that as a sign of confidence on Joshua's side. I wouldn't be surprised, if I'm being honest, if they stretch the fight out to next year. I think we might have to keep an eye on things moving in the Jerome Miller, potentially even Povetkin for opponent level. So that makes me feel he will just fight once. I don't see why Joshua would fight again in June after just doing 12 rounds and then again November. I don't see that happening.
No.
So for me, the significance of the Wilder fight, basically we're talking about two undefeated champions. One is a unified, one holds the prestigious green and gold WBC that all the icons are pictured with. It's a massive opportunity in my mind to kind of like cement boxing, but also to kind of have one undisputed champion, which we always want. You know, there's some entertaining fights out there. So I think Wilder Fury, Joshua, also in my opinion, I say it's a 50-50 fight because you see Wilder, yes, he's a one-trick pony. You know, he just has that right hand. You can outbox him, but will you be able to outbox him for 12 rounds? You have to be highly skilled to do that. You have to be, in my mind, an Ortiz who couldn't do that, or Fury who potentially could do that. Joshua, at the moment, there's still a couple of question marks. There's still a couple of question marks. So I think that's just the biggest fight, and it's the best be the best.
Do you think Joshua had an off night? Is that a possibility? Or do you think this was the game plan?
I don't think so at all. I think that was a game plan, if you ask me, man.
And why is that?
Off night at all.
Because
you could see he was being safe.
Is this like Is this like a future game plan, fighting Wilder, this safety first approach?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was saying at the beginning. I feel he's slowly preparing himself for Wilder. So I think in this fight he went with a game plan to try to get hit as less as possible, because we know that Wilder packs that punch that can knock any man out. So he's thinking, all right, so let me go with a different approach, see if I can not get touched much more and just outbox him. Because not that he's going to need to do that with Wilder. He can knock out Wilder, but I think because he's lacking confidence, he wants to play safe. He just wants to go and just outbox Wilder, even though he can knock him out also if he wants to.
I mean, and it's also elite level. I think whatever you say, look at all the kind of fights we've seen where it's, you know, we know it's on the line, it's a pick and fight. They usually start off quite slow, so people will fight naturally cautious. I think for me, it's all about Joshua being fine-tuned. I think they want to fine-tune Joshua into a position where they're very confident, as Dee said, that the whole team are very confident that they'll beat him. You know, they can't afford to be a little bit tired in the 7th and 8th round and take a big hit from Deontay Wilder early in one of those rounds and try to last 2 or 3 rounds like he did with Klitschko.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah,
you can't do that. So
one point I'd just like to make, guys, is after Wilder became champion, everyone was on his case to fight Klitschko, and this was something that came out very recently. And the statement released by Shirley Finkel, his manager, was at the time, and this was after his, I think it was 32nd or 33rd fight, right? You know, that he became world champion, right? The comment that his manager came out with, look, he's just a baby champ. He needs time to develop, okay? So you put that into context and compare that to Joshua's career, right? He's significantly behind his development compared to someone who's fought 32, 33 times. And if his manager is talking about baby champs, he's a baby champ, that's his exact words, right? And he needs to be developed a bit more before he can take the likes of Klitschko, then surely that should also be the case with Joshua, no?
So, in them, I'd like to put, so on that point, yes, there's no doubt Shelley Finkel said that. But remember, and if you know the date that statement was made, because it came out actually a while back, that was immediately after he beats Deverne for the belt. So you've got to look at the timeline of when that fight happened, and are you realistically going to say that he should now fight Klitschko as his first defense? I don't think so. But yeah, we could agree. Wilder is more experienced, if you were to say it, in terms of a padded record. But I think, again, some of these statements, I don't think they're ultimately relevant now, because Joshua doesn't have 1 belt, he has 4, and he's had 3. So you can't ask for baby steps when you've got keys to the Bentley, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. It's way too late for that.
What I will say with Joshua, and I repeatedly said it, he is the better fighter and he improves. So, like I said, once they fine-tune him into the position, they'll be very, very confident they're going to beat him, because they can keep him. You know, look what Ortiz done for the first 4 rounds against Wilder. He outboxed him. Wilder couldn't finish him, and then he had to let go in the 5th round, and he started connecting with the power. Do you see what I mean? So now you're talking about Joshua, same height, same type of power. Joshua has more keys in his box to win the fight, in my opinion. But Wilder's just a very dangerous fighter, and that's how I want to see that fight.
Okay, Nicholas, thank you very much.
And what do you think?
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, what's your thoughts on Wilder Parker. Wilder Joshua. When do you think that fight could get made?
Man, like you, I'd like it to be made in the summer. But I think,
Never.
listen, if it's not going to happen this year, it's going to happen next summer, isn't it? It's going to have to be summer 2019, right? You know, I'm just looking at some of the stuff. You know, Povetkin has become his mandatory with both the WBA and WBO. Yeah. So, and his full at Cardiff, he's just knocked out David Price. So there's an easy story to build there for the next fight. Yep. You know, let's get rid of our mandatories. You know, look at Joshua's fan base. I would say 85% of them are casual boxing fans. From the right. Yep. You know, one of those guys, you know, exactly. in the crowd. Yeah. You know, you get those guys in the crowd telling AJ what to do, you know, a multi-bit holder. But, yeah, so when you sell a story like that to them, they just eat it. You know, they just eat it like, you know, cake. You know, they just believe anything. So I reckon next will probably be Povetkin, because that will deal with 2 mandatories in one go. It just makes logical sense, and there's a story to build there. Yeah. You know, there's a possibility with Eddie Hearn banging on about this letter he's received from the IBF, where Dillian White and Pulev will can fight for a final eliminator for Joshua's IBF belt. So if that happens in the next few months, what we could have is a possibility of Povetkin, the next fight, followed by Dillian White, you know, sometime September, October, November, December time.
I think Wilder would get disheartened about not getting that shot at Wilder. I think Wilder's waiting for AJ, you know, for that fight to be signed and sealed. If it doesn't happen in the summer or by the end of the year, then it's going to there's questions going to be asked about who does Wilder face next. Is there possible defense against Brazil? Is that going to, you know, reduce the hype of an AJ fight? And all those questions kind of come into
So
I think AJ is definitely not going to fight Wilder this year. I think at best it will be early next year. So me, if I was Wilder, I would definitely get another fight before the end of the year. You can't sit around for 12 months just hoping to get the AJ deal, and I don't see that happening from AJ's camp. They can pretend that, they want to, but there's contractual issues, but I don't think that's the issue at all. They're just not ready for him, or they don't want him right now. And if I was Wilder, I would get another fight before the end of the year, because AJ will get another fight before the end of the year, and he won't be Wilder. I'm willing to bet on that.
Nick, thank you so much, mate. Stay on the line. And
no problem, brother.
Man. Thank you very much. Cheers, mate.
Nice one, guys.
Guys, just as you say, Tom, I'm seeing that Canelo Triple G officially cancelled. Canelo has withdrawn from the Triple G rematch.
Yeah,
it's just popped up on on Twitter.
So guys, just you know, if you see this shocking bit of news that's come out, Canelo has just withdrawn. Well, that's, you know, what can you say?
I mean, it's good.
Canelo, it's good. This guy is a spoiled brat of boxing, mate. You know what I mean? It needs to be called to account. Yeah. You know, so let's carry on with the calls. We've got 298.
Oh, it's Mike Serra. How you doing?
Mike Serra, how you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm good, thanks. I mean, everybody keeps going on about this Joshua Wilder fight, you know? But don't forget Dillian White. Yeah. You know, he is, I believe also, I know you just mentioned about the IBF, but there's also the WBC route there. And I tell you what, tell me a bigger fight, British-wise, even bigger than Joshua Wilder, and that's Joshua versus White. And I'll tell you for White, because if White was to fight Wilder and spoil the script and annex the WBC championship, then how about Joshua versus White, the rematch? Remember the first fight, how close he had Joshua to defeat. Yeah. And it's all 4 major, not your other titles, forget the IBO, all 4 major championships. Yeah. WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO. Yeah? Now, that's 2 British world champions holding the major belts. That is a bigger fight than Joshua versus Wilder.
Yeah.
Joshua Wilder has a question mark. Joshua Wilder has a question mark over it. Joshua White has even more question marks over it, because White came so close the last time.
I don't think so. Look, we're talking about undisputed heavyweight champion number 1, right? You can't say White is a bigger star in boxing than White.
What's his name? White.
Yeah.
Then then that fight could well materialise if he should beat Wilder. The Wilder-Joshua fight definitely looks like it will come to fruition. Yeah? Because money talks. Forget about your, is it Showtime who he fights for? And your Sky and all your politics. Forget that. These two guys want to fight each other. And at the end of the day, it's sexy, as Steve Bunt says. It's money. And money talks, bullshit walks. Yeah? Pardon my French. This fight will happen. I think it will happen this year.
You think it will happen this year?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, it will happen this year. Forget Povetkin and that. White may well fight Povetkin. I mean, this could be, again, we don't know. I mean, I'm saying, what if White... I'm just looking at scenarios. For example, White, if he was to fight Wilder, wouldn't it be a bigger fight, in my opinion, than Joshua versus Wilder? I'm getting sick of this Joshua Wilder talk. It's just Joshua Wilder all the time. I'm just getting, But, as I say, we don't know what's in the future now, what's being laid out, This fight could happen, Wilder versus White. Then again, you could get Joshua White, and then White could fight Povetkin. Now, Povetkin, I don't think he's going to stand much of a chance against Joshua. I really don't. I think he's 6'2". Now, Parker, on the other hand, that fight, I mean, he came to fight, but come on, let's be fair here. That referee made an absolute balls up of that fight. That guy, that referee should never be allowed to referee a major championship fight ever again. He ruined that fight, and it's a disgrace. And I'll tell you what it reminded me of. It reminded me of way back in March of '80 when our own Alan Minter, he beat Vito Antuofermo for the world middleweight title. And
what year was that, Michael? What year was that?
1980, March 16th, 1980.
Okay.
Yeah. And Alan Minter, he beat Antuofermo over... But... He administered a boxing lesson to Antuofermo, but Antuofermo beforehand took on a defence against Marvin Hagler, and he held Hagler to a draw.
Michael, just so you know, look, we're running out of time, Michael. Let's try and keep it with relevant to the subject.
I'm just saying, Carlos Padilla, that particular night in Vegas with Minter Antuofermo, he kept breaking the action. He kept stopping Antuofermo fighting his fight. So it may well have been he didn't. He stunk the joint out the referee. It wasn't those two guys. It was them. It was him, the referee. He just did not help Wilder. He did not help Parker. He helped Wilder. Sky weren't biased for a change. They actually admitted that who does the referee favour in this fight? It's Joshua, because it sure ain't Parker, because he's taking Parker's power away from him. He's not letting him get inside. He's not letting him throw his big shots. And this is where it screwed up the fight. But there you go. We're all 20 quid down, and I mean, it wasn't a great show, was it? I didn't enjoy the show.
No.
We didn't even get to watch Joshua Buatsi, a work in progress at
Buatsi.
That was before Caldina.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier about Caldina being able to box differently to Joshua. Caldina, you must remember, didn't have Joseph Parker type opponent in front of him. Styles do make fights.
Yes. So when do you want to see the Wilder fight next? Then is a question. Do you want to see it, irrespective of what you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I do.
And
I
who
do.
wins?
Wilder, as I say, is technically very poor for a guy who's 40-0, a slate of 40-0 and 39 KOs. But as they say, you must never knock an unbeaten record. But the thing with that fight is, I would like to see it, yes. But the fight I would really like to see is White versus Joshua, the rematch. That's the one. But again, that could well happen. I mean, if Joshua. But all I'm saying is, from a money point of view, from the British fans' perspective, forget the Americans, the British fans' perspective, to have two world champions. And now you must remember, if White hypothetically was to fight Wilder and beat Wilder, for example, then you have a guy who's got what they call the main belt in world boxing, WBC, but it isn't the belt that makes the fighter, it's the fighter that makes the belt. You must remember. Now, but the thing is, he has the WBC, for example, White, and you've got Joshua with the other 3 titles. There's 4 world championships on the line. White's, he's been there. He's fought Joshua. There's still a lot of question marks. It's unfinished business between them two. Trust me. Okay, he may have the fight was probably stopped fair and square, but he has Joshua's
Michael,
measure.
we're running out of time, mate. We've got a couple more lines to go through. Listen, mate, thank you very much for calling in, and really appreciate your support.
Cheers, Michael.
Cheers, Michael. Cheers, mate.
Thanks.
Cheers.
So last caller, we got 909. 909, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, Tom. How about yourself?
Oh, it's Raf. How you doing, Raf? Cheers for being patient. So yeah,
No worries, no worries.
Get straight to it. What was your assessment of the fight from the weekend?
I'm not taking anything away from Joshua, but I think there are a few factors that sort of overrode that. One of them being the judging panel, and the other being the referee. It was disappointing in the sense that, you know, it doesn't take a genius to work out that was in no way, shape or form between the between the three judges, the 5-point margin between them. Yeah. I think the scores were 119, 109, and then
118, 110 or whatever. You know, it's just ridiculous scoring.
And
in my opinion.
5 rounds between the three judges. I don't know, man, but there you go. The fight itself, I thought it was a shame with the ref. As the guys mentioned before, Parker looked more dangerous coming on the inside, given the physical disadvantages, obviously. So it was a shame in that sense. But that aside, I think there really was only going to be one winner. But I guess you can make a case for Parker in the sense that if he'd been allowed in range, that could have opened up a lot more.
Yeah, and Raf, do you think Wilder and Fury looking on, do you think they'll take a lot of confidence from AJ's performance?
Fury, definitely. Wilder, I think he'll be indifferent because at the end of the day, I think there's only so much that Wilder could take from it in the sense that he had dodgy moments as well in his performance against Ortiz most recently. But for Fury, who's a technical boxer, I think he'll gain a lot of confidence from that. But then in saying that, I think he would have had that regardless because he always thinks he's had AJ's number from day one. Yeah. Whereas, there's a question I had for you guys today, actually, which was, you know what's just come about with the 60-40 U-turn with Wilder and Joshua? I think it was the best part of the past 12 to 18 months that Wilder was saying. He was holding out for 50-50, saying it doesn't matter if he's got 3 belts and I've got 1, it has to be 50-50. And he was, to some extent, pushing the American side. But all of a sudden, overnight, we're hearing 60-40 to Joshua, and he's willing to come here. Yeah. And I don't know about you guys, but to me, something doesn't add up. I don't know whether it's some contractual intermediaries or whatnot, but, you know, something doesn't add up in that sense. It just seems all too sudden. But I think that's probably something politically motivated. I just can't see how overnight he's conceded 60-40 after holding out 50-50 for so long and willing to come here as well.
Yeah.
Raf, thank you very much, mate. We're about to finish off the show. Listen, mate, thank you very much for calling. Thank you very much for your support. Please do call in next week again.
Pleasure.
Cheers, Raf, mate. Top man.
Cheers, mate.
No worries.
Cheers, thank you.
So we've got one last caller. It's 985. 985. Hello. Hello.
How we doing, fellas?
Oh, it's Dan. How you doing, man?
All right?
How you doing, Dan?
Yeah, Dan.
Yeah, it's me. Yeah. Back on the scene.
Back on the scene, man. He said, Dan, give us a ban or a rant on Wilder Joshua. What's your take on the whole thing? What should happen? When should it happen? Why is it not happening? Go hard, mate. Go hard.
I think it will happen.
Yeah.
I think it will happen. Yeah, I think it's going to happen.
When's it going to happen?
When? Before the end of the year, I reckon.
Yeah, okay.
You think more realistically December time?
Say that again?
Do you think it's more realistic that the AJ Wilder fight will happen December time as opposed to the summer?
Yeah, I would say more. I'd say more around that time, yeah. And, I reckon it will happen. Why not?
Yeah, hopefully.
Why not?
Yeah, I just think it's a stadium fight. You know, it's a big stadium, probably like a Wembley Stadium kind of fight, and it's a summer fight. You know, so for that, I think if it's just not made this summer, mate, it's going to have to be next year. I just think that's what that's how it just seems to me. It's a big summer fight. You know, summer blockbuster. And it just needs to happen during that period. It's just still not got that. For me, it's still got that same impact during Christmas time or December time. You know. You know, all the big fights happen in Wembley during the summer. Carl Froch, George Groves, Joshua Klitschko, you know. You just need that kind of environment for it.
Maybe. But listen, what about James DeGale then?
Yeah, we're going to actually touch on that. Yeah, what would you ask you? What's your opinions about the fight? Do you think DeGale's been a bit, underestimated Truex a little bit for this rematch?
Yeah, he's underestimating him. I mean, Truex, you've got to give him his props. He come over here and he's done the business. DeGale was overlooking him, which was very disrespectful, and I think he's going to get turned over again because it seems like he hasn't learnt his lesson. So, I can only see him losing on Saturday, to be fair.
D, he's blaming an injury. He's saying last time he went in, he was injured. This time he's not. Do you think that's just a cock and bull story to cover his poor performance last time? And
I mean...
I'm sorry. I've got you a bit stuck there, haven't I? Maybe Kojo can take over.
You got me a bit stuck. Me personally, this is me.
Yeah.
Right, you're in the fucking ring, do the business.
Yeah.
Don't matter if you're a champion, right?
Yeah.
Don't matter if you're fucking 80%, 70%, do the fucking business.
Yeah.
You're giving it all this.
Yeah.
Do the business.
Yeah.
Against the fucking blown up middleweight.
Exactly.
Yeah. And do you think this is the end for DeGale if he loses or doesn't look impressive Saturday night?
Well, where's there for him to go if he loses?
Yeah, that's it.
I think he said it pretty much himself. He said it himself. If he loses, he's going to retire. Let's bring Kodge into this conversation. Kodge, you there?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Kodge, what do you think about the whole DeGale situation, man?
DeGale.
Can he win? How does he win? And if he loses, does he retire?
I mean, I think he's going to try. I really think he's going to try and outbox Caleb Truax. I think there's definitely a chance of doing that. We know that he can fight on the road, arguably against better opponents than Truax. I think we need to see him win. I agree with you guys. If he doesn't win, there's going to be a lot of questions as to where he goes next, what becomes of him. I think this rubbish about injury. I mean, I'm not a fan of. I don't like when people say that because I think it just detracts from what the opponent's done to beat you. For me, Caleb Truax came to the UK and fought a very hard fight. He put it on DeGale and he wanted it more.
Yeah.
So the question is Caleb Truax going to also want it more to retain it? I don't know. I have to be honest. I don't know much about him. But if you were to ask me who would I say wins, I'll probably go with DeGale on points.
And do you think, Coach, that it needs to be...
Move. Yep.
Do you think it needs to be a similar performance to the DeGale Darrell fight when he won the IBF title?
Exactly, that kind of. But he's got to make sure he doesn't gas in, which we know he does in a lot of his fights. Even the Bute fight, I think he has to be even as similar as that. Just boxing move. But he gasses and his defense is low. So I think it's going to be an interesting fight.
This all reminds me a bit
What are you guys going with?
Yeah, what I'm thinking of is it almost reminds me a bit of Chocolatito versus Ring Versailles. Yeah, the first time Ring Versailles beat Chocolatito, everyone's saying, oh, it was probably a bit jammy, blah, 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 right? Second time round, you just wax him out, right? I think this is going to happen here, mate. I don't know if he's going to get knocked out, but I think Caleb Truax can win probably a bit more comfortably. And the reason I'm saying that, if you look at the trajectory of DeGale's performances, it's always been poor. It's just about one, right? When he won the title, it was like that. Lucien Bute, it was like that. Badu Jack, it was like that. They're all subpar performances. Porky Medina, subpar performance. When he lost to Caleb Truax, it was not really a big surprise to me, to be honest. And I think it's just at the end of his career, man. And this, I think he's just going to bow out. It's going to be his final one, mate. I think Caleb Truax is probably going to be too fresh for him. He's a champ. He's fighting, in his country this time. Bear in mind, James DeGale is fighting on the undercard, man. He's fighting on the undercard of Hurd and Arislandi Lara as they fight for the 150-pound unification. So that says a lot, man. It's fallen from grace. Yeah, so in my mind, I'm just thinking this is it for DeGale, mate, to be honest. Last chance.
So you're going with Truax to win?
I'm going for Truax, yeah. Truax on points.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to call, really, because I think since Truax won the title, he's not really been given the credit he might have deserved for coming over to the UK and beating, a top name in DeGale. And I think if DeGale's, underestimating him, he's going to get the shock of his life, I think, on Saturday if he's not up to scratch.
Cool. Well, guys, I think that's about it. We're going to wrap it up for today. Thanks to all our callers and all our listeners, everyone that's called this show. Appreciate the support. Big up all the guys on Facebook and our social media page. Make sure you download the show tomorrow from iTunes and Android Podcast. You can also access it from our YouTube account and via our Blog Talk Radio account. And don't forget, guys, next few weeks we are bringing in visual recording equipment. We're going state of the art, man. We're going to be broadcasting it visually as well, taking it to the next level. So thanks for all the support. Raps on.
Cheers,
Thanks,
guys.
Cheers.
Good show.
Trying to catch himself, using his jab.